The history of fighter planes dates back to the early 20th century when aviation was still in its infancy. World War I was the first major conflict to witness the use of fighter planes. Initially, aircraft were primarily used for reconnaissance purposes, but as the war progressed, both sides recognized the need for dedicated fighter aircraft. Early fighters like the Fokker Eindecker and the Sopwith Camel featured machine guns and were used to engage enemy aircraft in aerial combat. Throughout history, fighter aircraft have played a crucial role in military conflicts, shaping the course of warfare and providing nations with air superiority. The continuous evolution of fighter planes has been driven by the need to adapt to new technologies, tactics, and threats, resulting in ever more advanced and capable machines. In earlier days, they primarily engaged in dogfights. But over time were also deployed in various other roles such as ground attack, reconnaissance, and interception of hostile aircraft. They are critical assets for air forces worldwide, providing tactical and strategic advantages in both defensive and offensive operations. The continuous advancement of fighter aircraft technology remains an ongoing endeavor, driven by the need to maintain air superiority and adapt to emerging threats in modern warfare. We will take a look at several iconic aircraft that have played significant roles in not only wars, but in military aircraft advancements. These are not in a particular order. Vovzen III. The Vovzen III was a French aircraft developed in 1914 employed by the French Air Force during World War I, primarily for reconnaissance and artillery spotting missions. It is significant because it is often credited as one of the earliest recognized fighter planes. More than 1,350 were built. It is notable for being the aircraft used for the first shoot-down of an enemy aircraft on October 5, 1914, and to have been used to equip the first dedicated bomber units in September 1914. It was equipped with a machine gun mounted in the rear cockpit. This allowed the observer-gunner to engage enemy aircraft in aerial combat. P51 Mustang. The P51 Mustang is an iconic U.S. fighter aircraft that played a crucial role during World War II and beyond. It is widely regarded as one of the best fighter planes of its time and has become a symbol of American air power. The P51 Mustang was designed in the early 1940s in response to a British requirement for a long-range escort fighter. More than 15,000 were developed. The P51 Mustang played a significant role during the invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944. Its extended range and dogfighting capabilities made it highly effective in aerial combat against enemy fighters. It was attributed to the Luftwaffe losing 17% of its fighter pilots in just over a week. It provided air superiority, carried out ground attack missions, and conducted reconnaissance flights. The Mustang's range allowed it to accompany bombers deep into enemy territory, contributing to the success of Allied operations. The P-51 Mustang also saw action in the Pacific Theater, engaging Japanese forces and supporting ground operations. After World War II, the Mustang continued its service in various roles, including ground attack and reconnaissance. It remained in active duty with many air forces around the world for several decades. It had a maximum speed of 440 miles per hour, a range of 1,650 miles, and service ceiling of 41,900 feet. Messerschmitt BF109. The BF109 was a German World War II fighter aircraft. It was one of the most iconic and widely produced fighter planes of the era and became the backbone of the German Luftwaffe's fighter force, with 36,901 being produced. The earlier BF-109s were flown by the three top-scoring German fighter aces of World War II, who claimed 928 victories among them. More aerial kills were made with the BF-109 than any other aircraft of World War II, nearly 15,000 of them. It was initially armed with two machine guns mounted on the engine cowling, firing through the propeller arc. Later variants were equipped with additional machine guns and cannons. The armament varied throughout the production series. The BF-109 was known for its excellent performance and agility. It had a top speed of 350 to 370 miles per hour and a range of 547 to 711 miles. It saw action in various theaters, including the Battle of Britain, the Eastern Front, North Africa, and the defense of the Reich during the later stages of the war. Sopwith Camel. Introduced in 1917, the Sopwith Camel was a British World War I biplane fighter aircraft that was primarily used by the Royal Flying Corps and the Royal Naval Air Service. It was primarily used as a fighter aircraft for air-to-air combat, but it also carried out ground attack missions. It is regarded as one of the most famous and successful fighter planes of the war. The Sopwith Camel had a more powerful engine and more firepower than the German fighters it went up against. Armed with twin synchronized Vickers machine guns mounted in front of the cockpit, the Sopwith Camel accounted for 1,294 air-to-air kills, the most of any model during World War I. It had a top speed of around 115 miles per hour and a range of 300 miles. It was highly maneuverable, but also known for its tricky handling characteristics. The rotary engine's torque and gyroscopic effects made the aircraft prone to spinning and required skilled pilots to fly it effectively. Mitsubishi Zero. Introduced in 1941, the Mitsubishi A6M Zero was a legendary Japanese fighter aircraft used during World War II. It played a significant role in the early stages of the war, particularly in the Pacific theater. At the outset of World War II in the Pacific, the Zero owned the skies. The Zero was primarily carrier-based, highly maneuverable, and could fly long range. Because of this, the Japanese had a remarkable 12-to-1 kill ratio over the Allies. The Zero's most common armament configuration included two 7.7mm machine guns mounted in the engine cowling and two 20mm cannons mounted in the wings. It had a top speed of around 330 miles per hour and a range of approximately 1,930 miles with drop tanks, including the attack on Pearl Harbor and the early Japanese offensives. Its long range and excellent dogfighting capabilities provided a significant advantage for the Japanese forces. As the war progressed and newer Allied aircraft with improved performance were introduced, the Zero began to face challenges due to its lack of armor protection and self-sealing fuel tanks. MiG-15. Introduced in 1949, the MiG-15 is a Soviet jet fighter aircraft that gained significant prominence during the Korean War and became one of the most widely produced jet fighters of its time. The MiG-15 featured swept wings, which provided better performance at high speeds. The aircraft was armed with cannons and rockets for air-to-air combat. The MiG-15 temporarily gave the Chinese the advantage in the air and ultimately forced United Nations forces to halt daylight bombing until the F-86 arrived to level the air combat playing field. Powered by a single turbojet engine, the MiG-15 had a top speed of around Mach 0.92 or 700 miles per hour and a range of about 690 miles. Its armament typically included two 23mm cannons and one 37mm cannon. The MiG-15's performance in the Korean War highlighted its capabilities and surprised Western forces. It led to a reassessment of Western aircraft and spurred the development of more advanced fighters like the American F-86 Sabre. The MiG-15 continued its service beyond the Korean War and was utilized by several countries throughout the Cold War. F6F Hellcat. Introduced in 1943, the F6F Hellcat is a carrier-based fighter aircraft that was primarily used by the United States Navy during World War II. The F6F was designed to counter the Mitsubishi Zero and help secure air superiority over the Pacific theater. The Hellcat's success played a significant role in turning the tide of the war in favor of the Allies. Hellcats were credited with 5,223 kills, more than any other Allied naval aircraft. The Hellcat featured a rugged design and strong construction, which allowed it to absorb substantial battle damage and continue flying. It had folding wings to facilitate storage on aircraft carriers. The aircraft's armament typically included 650 caliber machine guns and the ability to carry bombs or rockets for ground attack missions. The Hellcat was known for its excellent speed, climbing ability, and firepower. It had a top speed of around 380 miles per hour and a range of approximately 1,170 miles. Following World War II, The Hellcat remained in service for a few more years before being replaced by more advanced jet-powered aircraft. It also saw action during the Korean War, primarily in ground attack missions. In total, approximately 12,275 of these aircraft were built. MiG-21. The MiG-21 is a supersonic jet fighter aircraft that was developed by the Soviet Union and became one of the most widely produced and exported fighter planes in history. The MiG-21 featured a delta wing configuration, which gave it excellent maneuverability and high-speed performance. It was powered by a single jet engine and often equipped with air-to-air missiles, cannons, and bombs for ground attack missions. It had a maximum speed 1,351 miles per hour, a range of around 620 miles, and a service ceiling 57,400 feet. The MiG-21 became a symbol of Soviet air power during the Cold War and was widely exported to Soviet allies and client states. It saw extensive combat in various conflicts, including the Vietnam War, the Arab-Israeli conflicts, and the Indo-Pakistani wars. Even today, several countries continue to operate upgraded versions of the MiG-21. Approximately 11,496 MiG-21s were produced. As always, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe.